Now, if you don't like it when I waffle, moan, and groan, then this video is not for you, because I'm going to be doing a lot of waffling, a lot of moaning, and a lot of groaning. And it's for your own good. Now, I don't want to sound like a broken record, you know, as I say, clock is right twice a day, blah, blah, blah. I will get it wrong eventually, but for the majority of the times, I believe that we have good grips on how the markets work. And I try so hard to get you to read between the lines sometimes and, you know, try to help you save money, because we're not here to give you stock tips. We're not here to give you buy or sell signals, not at all. I'm showing you things that can hopefully help you pinpoint market action and things like that. So we're just going to refer back to the last video. The last video is basically pre-ETF launch, all right? And there's 2 points that I made in that. I said, basically, this part of the 18-year cycle is the speculation phase. That's where everyone is over feverish, they're over bullish, and they're just over optimistic for absolutely the wrong reasons and no reason at all. And you should never be buying an asset when it's got a major launch, such as an ETF or something like that, because generally that marks the top of that move. And I'm going to lead into this very soon. And then we were looking at some potential price points for Bitcoin to find some resistance at. We had the first one, which was around the 45,000 mark. We can see that Bitcoin in this instance came up, tapped that before rolling away, broke through it, and tried to then break through that 48,000 mark. And then I believe the top one we had was around 51. Those were just some of the immediate square of 9 levels that we were watching for a price to find resistance at. And now the square of 9, the cycle stuff, all that sort of stuff, they're not meant to be used in isolation, okay? They're meant to be used in conjunction with your analysis. Now, you might not be good at the square of 9, you might not be good at the cycle stuff, you might not be good at the time stuff. So I give you that, okay? I give you the square of 9 levels to be watching, at least in this instance in the videos. I gave you 3 levels that we were probably looking at. I give you the cycles, like when does it start, when does it end, what happens in this part of the cycle, what we're looking for. And then you're meant to take that information, if you actually like focus on what I'm saying and not try to like compare me to someone else who you think's more superior than me. If you focus on what I'm saying and you actually take that information and overlay it into what you're doing, it's going to greatly benefit you. So we take a look at the Bitcoin cycle now. This is the 90-day cycle. Now, I believe I'm the only one that's publicly displaying this. I've been displaying it publicly since, I think, 2021 or 2022, at least on YouTube. And, you know, eventually someone's going to come out and claim it's theirs, but I'm the first one to come to market with it, because I frickin' went back and I started to look for these cycles. The 90-day cycle is the one that I show you publicly, and I'll show you how it works. So we're now coming up to the midpoint of this cycle. So the ending point is around the beginning of March. So let's just say the mid-March, because it's 9th and 3rd actually. Around mid-March, that's when the end of the cycle should be in for this 90-day period. And I always look forward 90 days at a time. I want to know what's going to happen in the next 3 months. Is the market likely bullish bias or bearish bias for the next 3 months? And the way we do that is by judging what happens around the midpoint of that cycle, okay? So starting point, ending point, mid-cycle, okay? Does that make sense? Now, when the market comes up and it comes towards that midpoint, we need to be judging if it's making a top on the left-hand side of that midpoint and then travels down into this right side and doesn't break that top again. It doesn't break that top again. Or if it goes up onto the right side of this mid-cycle, and then basically just continues higher and higher. Depending on which of these 2 scenarios occur, it'll tell you if the market is likely to finish lower than where it began, or if it's likely to finish higher than where it began. And basically, we start the cycle at the low. We count forward our 90-day bracket. Let me clean this up. We count forward our 90-day bracket, and if the market makes a right translation top, which means that a high occurs over here, so the market can push higher anytime in this point, then that means that when the low occurs in this time period, it means it's going to be higher than where it began. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? I hope so. And if it doesn't make any further high after this point here, that generally means that by the time it gets to this cycle low, it's going to finish lower than where it began, which means that it can be 1% lower, or it can be like $10,000 lower. This is just the cycle, okay? It doesn't give you the price side of it. It just gives you the cycle and how we read or interpret that cycle, okay? So I haven't done like a 4-year left or right translation top thesis. I've been asked about that a few times. I'm sorry, I'm actually very busy on several different projects that I work on. Eventually I'll get around to it. You just have to bear with me, okay? So the ETF has launched. We all know that. The bulls wanted to go to $1 million, and I said, look, if it does do that in this cycle, then ride it out. However, for the ETF launch, just be warned. So now I would just want to pop over to Facebook groups, okay? And one of the ones that it doesn't matter which one you're in, you can go to any one you want. Now, the one that I'm going to be referencing is just CoinSpot Traders Uncensored. It's just a group. It's just a group I'm in, and I just want you to just think objectively. What was happening pre-ETF launch? What were you seeing? Basically, 90% of the people. I'm saying 90 because I'm just saying, sure, there's some outliers who say something else. Basically, 90% of the people were telling you, once the ETF launch, it comes in, there's going to be a flood of money that comes in. Bitcoin's going to go to 100,000, 200,000. It's baked in. There's going to be that freaking massive flood wave of money. Wall Street's going to get it. Wall Street's the biggest market in the world. Yeah, okay. Anyway, so you remember that, right? And now we got, just blur out the names, okay? I'm not going to edit this, but just pretend the names are not there. People don't seem to understand what this ETF was going to do. All the YouTube moon boys you were subscribed to were telling you it would explode the next day. That was always going to be BS. This ETF just means Bitcoin's price will go up a lot over a stretch of many years, like any other ETF launch. When gold got its ETF, the price dropped around 15%, and the price did nothing, and it went sideways for months before going up over 500% and not stopping. Okay, I don't know if that's his accent. I'm just making it up. We'll get into this whole gold ETF later. It's something that they use as an example, and I don't know why. And I've got another point I want to make about Bitcoin in 2024, okay? Bitcoin is 15 years old, right? Okay, it's 15 years old. Maybe not yet, but eventually 15 years old. No, January, 15 years old. There's an inherent cycle in the number of 15, okay? Now, if you do anything Gann related, 15 is an important number. And I'm not going to just go into it now because it's going to be off topic, but 15 years is quite important. All right, this one said, great news for crypto. That was 2 days ago. ETFs got the SEC approval. We'll see. Let's just continue down, wait for it to load. What's everyone's, no, that's on Ape. After significant researching regarding Bitcoin ETF, it appears 99% certain that the SEC will not approve it because its role, SEC hates coins, blah, blah, blah. Does the Bitcoin ETF have erectile dysfunction? Where's all these trillions you guys speculated on arriving? All right, again, very interesting. Final stake at the market close, 4.351 billion in total volume across all 11 new ETFs, minus that one. Officially the biggest ETF launch for a single asset of all time. Okay, let's just take a look at the price of Bitcoin. Okay, Bitcoin launched, I believe it was on the 10th, after the US markets had basically closed, which meant by the US time the next day, the markets then saw their US top and then reversed. So that flood of money came in, all right? You got to remember, Cathie Wood said that crypto would not be a sell the news event and that this is going to change everything. Here we go, hedge funds on Bitcoin now, let's moon. And that was by an admin and group expert on the Bitcoin launch. Okay, so fair enough. Look, I don't want to bore you. If you're bored, just get yourself off this video. I'm basically just waffling on because I'm trying to point out some very basic things, okay? What I mean by basic is, now, no disrespect to this guy, introducing Crypto Bogan. I want you to go back to, you might not have like any data sources to reference, but basically in 1929, or even in 2008, let's just use the 2008 instance where, go back to the movie The Big Short. In The Big Short, everyone was buying real estate, okay? That was basically what The Big Short was about, and they were looking at the subprime mortgages, and that's why they shorted the mortgage market, etc. Subprime mortgages. Basically, everyone and his dog was owning real estate, and that was the thing to be in, okay? This was in the second half of that 18.6-year cycle. Real estate was big. Go back to 1929 if you got any research on that. Basically, the same thing was occurring, where basically everyone and their dog was buying stocks because stocks were never going to go down. When you get pages, and again, no disrespect to this guy because I'm not singling him out. I'm just trying to make a valid point. When you get pages like Crypto Bogan, a channel for crypto legends and bogans alike, no disrespect, I'm just referencing it. This signals that now everyone and their dog is getting in, okay? This is what I'm trying to get at. We're now at the point where everyone and their dog is getting in. And I need you to always think of it like that, because that is a time where you should not have an investor mindset, but you should have a speculator mindset. And that means that whatever you do in the market should not be a buy and hold situation, because eventually it'll be wrecked. It's quite simple. ETF announced, then hold or sell. Denied, then it's a fire sale. I'm not worried about the dump. Anyway, so this just can go on and on. I probably picked the wrong group, but I just remember everyone talking about it. There was tons of groups I'm in. Basically, you got this again, just continued old news. Anyway, so let's talk about two things. First of all, I want to talk about the gold cycle. A lot of people use the reference of gold like it's the same as Bitcoin. And they say that when gold got its ETF launch, it dropped 15% and then rocketed 500%, basically over a 9-year period. People don't get into Bitcoin because they're looking to make 900% over 5 years. They're looking to make 500% in a year. Okay, so it's a very different market, and you shouldn't be using that analogy. I don't exactly know how SSI Bookstore has categorized this book. However, if you want to know about gold, then I'm going to show you how to learn about gold, okay? And I am just going to search for Linksy. See if it comes up under his name or not. Sorry, I thought I had got the URL, but I guess I was wrong. Dear, no, I'm just going to waste time looking for it. Look for the book on gold forecasting by David L. Linksy. I've mentioned his book, and I've mentioned David L. several times, Mr. Linksy, because of his work in basically astrofinance, and he has probably one of the most specific writings on gold that I've seen out of anyone, who goes through the gold history from 1700s basically until when the book was published in 2016, I believe it was, or 2015. He goes through all the research on gold, where the cycle started, where they ended, and when the price rose and when the price declined. And he goes over several different examples. If you want to get esoteric knowledge, you can just buy all this material yourself. It's up to you then to research that material and put all the pieces of the puzzle together. Actually, I think David's name is in here. There we go. Linksy. Stay on the SSI website. I don't know why this comes up. It's actually super annoying. All right. Actually, it's $750, 750 USD. Key to speculation in the gold market. A scientific correlation and proof as to why and when the gold market makes tops and bottoms. I want to tell you one thing. The bottom in gold and the eventual ETF launch and the research that Linksy provides you, they're not correlated, okay? There's a very specific reason why gold makes tops and bottoms, and it's an astro-based reason, and Linksy gives us the proof of that astro-based reason, and he provides us data going back to 1700 as to when these tops and bottoms were likely to occur. If you want to learn, go buy the book, okay? I can't talk about it because when you buy the book, you're required to sign a non-disclosure agreement. However, that's the book. Okay, you can go buy it, and I highly recommend it. Now, the second thing I wanted to talk about on Bitcoin, I want you to cast your mind's eye back. Maybe you don't have knowledge and you weren't in it at the time. I was first introduced to Bitcoin back around 2010, 2011. I think it was Max Kaiser. Back then, I used to listen to the Alex Jones show. I was deep into conspiracy theories before I fully understand like this whole time cycle stuff. Might have been 2000 and late 2009, not too sure. Basically, at the time, I can't remember. I think Bitcoin was like $1 to $10 or maybe $20. And I was umming and ahhing about buying it, etc. But the whole point of Bitcoin back then was to have an alternative currency to the US dollar-backed system. All right, and isn't that what Satoshi had originally planned for Bitcoin, okay? An alternative currency, and there was only 21 million in existence, and it could be broken up into Satoshis, down XXX amount, and you could basically barter with it. I have never in my life, I'm not that old, but in my life and in my research, I have never ever seen a currency speculated on as such, where people buy the currency expecting it to go to $1 million. Is that how a currency works? Now, maybe I completely misunderstand Bitcoin, but if you can break it up into a million different portions or Satoshis, you're basically working with cents or microcents. What is the value of the Bitcoin? Of course. What is the value of one whole Bitcoin? Now we have ETFs launched on what was meant to be a currency. Again, just try to wrap your head around this. The original, what I'm trying to get at is, I don't want to bore you, I'm waffling. Look at my timer, it says 17 minutes. The original thesis of Bitcoin was to be a currency, and now it has ETFs as if it is an asset. Okay? What Wall Street has done is basically fucked you over. Okay? You understand that. Now, my whole thesis or my whole concept of what's going on could be completely wrong. I could be completely invalid in my assumption. But the original creation of Bitcoin was not to be launched as an ETF. All right? That's how Wall Street has now fooled you. I want you to understand that. Wall Street has fooled you. The ETFs have fooled you. Sure, it trades spot, blah, 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 blah. We're now buying and selling an asset, not a currency, which means its original underlying premise is destroyed, which means that Bitcoin is now entering a new stage, okay? It's gonna have new rules. We need to play by those new rules. I'm not saying that Bitcoin's not gonna go to $1 million, because I understand that we're in the speculative phase right now, and Bitcoin can technically do anything until the end of this cycle, which will finish around 2026, and the decline should last between 2028 to 2032. My full course on Louise McWhirter goes through the astro-based reasons as to why we're looking at those timeframes. But yeah, I just want you to understand the rules of the game have now changed now that we have an ETF on Bitcoin. It's no longer a currency, it's now an asset, and it should be treated as an asset. Okay, yes, you can spend it. Okay, yes, it has different availabilities, but Wall Street has basically changed the game, okay? Now that Wall Street basically controls and owns Bitcoin, I just want you to remember who are these whales that basically own 90% of the available supply, and they'll continue to buy it. They're not people who are buying Bitcoin to use it as a currency, okay? They're speculating on the price as an asset, not as a currency. You don't see the Bank of Japan hoarding $5 quadrillion of Australian dollars, do you? Sure, they hold some in reserve. They hold gold in reserve. Okay? Again, I don't want to make it sound like I'm the almighty God and I can see everything. I'm just trying to give you my perspective. Okay? The rules have changed. And I'm trying to get you to understand that the rules have changed, which means that we need to be open post-apocalyptic times in the next few years, that this 4-year cycle that we believe to be true might not be true. anymore because the rules are changing, okay? There'll be new cycles that start to unravel. I don't know what those cycles are. I basically need to wait for those cycles to unravel so that we can find them and locate and see what's happening, okay? 4-year cycle is inherent in basically an economy. You've got a 4-year presidential cycle, which lines up basically pretty perfectly with the Bitcoin cycle. There's no reason why Bitcoin's price should continue to go up all the time. Or we should look at some like other assets which don't have any more supply. For example, Argyle pink diamonds. Yeah, those assets have risen in price drastically since the Argyle mine closed 3 years ago. But there's not a frenzy on it. You got to like there's a very specific herd mentality into crypto that's going on, and I just want to caution you. Okay, I just want to caution you about going balls deep in this. Again, you can do what you want. I'm just trying to let you see another side of it. Okay. So thank you for everyone who's been joining us in the back end. I am going to keep growing it. I do have a lot of things on my plate that I'm doing. I am still building out a lot of the Gann mastery courses. I'm actually surprisingly way ahead schedule on a few things, and I do need to take some time off soon. So I'm going to get some of that content out to you guys soon, such as the Louise McWhirter method on forecasting stock markets, etc. But yeah, that's just all I have for you today. Like I said, just a waffle one, and I'm just trying to help you, okay? Help you see the things that I see, and I could be wrong. When it's time to be a moon, I'll tell you that I'm bullish, but when it's time for me to be cautious, I'm just going to be open, and I just tell you it's time to be cautious, guys. I'll talk to you soon.